Okay, ladies, sorry about that. Hey, girl, hey, welcome to Sisterhood Sunday. We are excited. August will make our anniversary. We started last year in August, and we were meeting in person. And due to the pandemic, we have moved it to online, which I'm excited about because now we have the opportunity to meet women all over. We have people online from California to Minnesota, to New York, Texas, Florida, Georgia, Virginia. And so I'm super excited to have you ladies on, and I'm more even ecstatic to have our authors on today. They're going to give you a peek behind the pages of who they are and what inspired them to write their stories. I know many of you have books on the inside of you that are waiting to be written and waiting for the world to hear your story. There's someone waiting to sit down and curl up on the couch and be healed, be empowered, inspired by the story you have to tell. And so I am super excited to have all of you ladies on. Once again, we have people that are just coming in. Go ahead and type your name, what you do, and your contact information in the chat box, because you don't know who may need your services or who may need your products at this time. This is a networking platform, and it's something that I'm excited to provide for all of you ladies. We're going to get started in 2 minutes. I did email a list. Let me go ahead and put that up. Who's going to start first? Is Miss Taylor on?
I don't know how to get back. Oh, more, she said.
Miss Taylor? Hopefully she's not one of these iPhones. Let me check. Miss Taylor Dark, do we have you on? Okay, I'm gonna let these last two people in. They're connecting. Everybody doing okay on this Sunday? This rainy, well, it's raining here in Georgia.
Yeah, we're good.
Yes, ma'am.
Nice and hot.
Where are you?
In California?
Nice and hot.
Yeah, it's nice and hot.
It's beautiful in Chicago today. I just came from a walk.
Nice.
Oh, beautiful in Chicago? Wow.
Yes, yeah, it's about 60, maybe like 62, 64 degrees.
That's hard to believe because I think y'all had just had snow or something.
Yes, snow yesterday.
In April?
Twice this week. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, from snow to 60. Wow, y'all got strong immune systems.
Chicago. You don't like weather? Wait a minute.
You know,
Corona
Prince said sometimes it snows in April.
Okay, Taylor is not on right now, so we're gonna move to somebody I'm excited to present. We actually met on Instagram, and I saw she had written a new book, and I just reached out to her and we connected on the phone. She has an amazing story, and I see you online, so I would like to welcome Miss Christy Adams. Are you there, Christy?
Yeah, I just have to unmute myself. How are you?
I am fabulous.
Good. All right, so I just got a few minutes just to talk about my book. And this updated, that is not my author photo. That is my quarantine photo. My author photo looks nothing like how I've looked these last few weeks, so I am not even gonna try to front.
Well, it looks good.
So I did it. That just happened to be one of the good twist out days. It hasn't been that way the whole time. But anyway, just really briefly, my name's Christy Adams. And right now, my profession is I'm a chaplain at a boarding school and an ordained minister in the American Baptist Church. But I've most recently authored this book called Parable of the Brown Girl that came out February 4th with Fortress Press. And so I had a good month of in-person book talks and book launch. And so I think I was really blessed in that regard. I know some people that have come out this month and just haven't really been able to push it outside of the virtual world. So I consider myself blessed. But just a little bit about what the book is about. It shares seven different narratives of personal encounters that I've had in my career with young Black girls. I have worked as youth minister. I've worked as a chaplain at a school outside of LA, Azusa Pacific University. I worked as a chaplain at Georgetown University. I worked in nonprofit at a youth development center and residential treatment facilities. So I've had different encounters with youth in the last 15 or so years of my career, and I've had really profound encounters with young Black girls. So that's really what this is about in a nutshell. It's about the wisdom that I've gotten from their stories and the different like cultural and spiritual truths that have like arisen from that. So the whole idea of the book is that it's for adults. There are, certain audiences, young adults, high school girls could certainly read it, but it's really for those that are teachers or mentors, parents, anyone that works in some sort of connection with a Black girl, wants to have, relationships with young Black girls, anyone in close proximity. It's really for us to really understand the plight of just their lives in contemporary society, but also how I think there's a cultural and historical overlap with us, with them and with us. And also because of sort of my theological background, there's also a spiritual truth that comes out of each of their stories. So so that's really what the book is about. I pretty much argue that, Black girls aren't getting the message that they're made in the image of God. We hear that often in churches. We're all made in the image of God, but I just don't think that Black girls specifically are getting that. They're not getting the message that they are the beautiful embodiment of the image of God. And so so that's essentially what the story is about. So each chapter, there's 7 chapters. It tells a story of a girl, and then a cultural truth that reflects that girl's life, and then a spiritual truth. So just a little brief example, like the first chapter is called The Parable of the Weak Brown Girl. It's about a 9-year-old girl that I met that I counseled for a while. And one of the things that she asked me when she was going through something was, why did God make me a warrior when I'm really just weak? I mean, she asked me that really profound question as 9 years old. And how I grappled with that and came back to her like a week later and told her that I feel like, well, warriors are weak, that God makes room for both strength and our weakness. And from there, after her story, I talk a little bit about how the strong Black woman narrative has been something that we've had to deal with as Black women all of our lives, and how young girls are dealing with that today, right? Doesn't there's goodness to it, but it doesn't leave room for our vulnerabilities. And so that's why black girls can go missing, and they say, oh, well, she just ran away, or oh, whatever it is that they sort of make up as to the reason why they ignore that. But then the spiritual truth that comes at the end of the chapter is that, like I said, God makes room for us in our strength and our weakness. And that scripture we talks about when we're weak, God is strong. And when Jesus is like, come unto me, all of you who are a burden and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. So each of the chapters is set up like that. It tells the girl's story, but then it shares a little bit about how that overlaps with things that Black women have been dealing with for generations, back to 1619, and then a sort of spiritual wisdom that comes out of their story. So it's been good. It was in Essence magazine, and I would have liked to have gone to Essence Fest, but obviously that's not going to happen. But I've been blessed, and just even for that month that we were able to push it and be in Barnes and Noble or wherever else, then it's been great. So that's it.
Awesome. Does anybody have any oh, it won't stop. There we go. Does anybody have any questions for Krista?
Is that, what audience is that for? Do you encourage young teenagers to watch it, or do you think it's a
I definitely encourage young teens to read the book.
Mhm.
I don't. I push the adult narrative, right? Like family,
Mhm.
parent, educators, counselors, just because I feel like we need to be reading into their stories and learning from them. I
Mhm.
think they need to learn from each other, which is fine. But most importantly, I push that, they're constantly, they know their stories. We don't,
That's right.
so that's really more why I push that. But yeah, high school girls can definitely read it and get a good understanding.
So maybe a good read also for parents who are dealing with the millennial daughters and sons. Maybe they can get a better understanding by reading your book, because sometimes we lose translation when you got the different age groups. I'm like in the 60s, and my daughter's laughing. So their translation is different, So I'm going to order the book because I have teenage granddaughters,
Uh,
17 and 16. So I think it's a interesting read, and I think it sounds very informative, because sometimes you can be, as they say, in the world and not of the world, and you're blind to a lot of things that we just didn't know that was happening right up on our eye. So I'm inspired.
Thank you.
Thank you for writing.
Thank you.
And soon as Sister Corona leaves, we can't wait to have Krista down and do a tour here in Atlanta of some book readings. I still remember our first conversation. I almost got you in March, but I got you in April.
Well, good thing you didn't.
I know, right? So you can purchase Krista's book, Parable of the Brown Girl, at Amazon.com. Thank you, Krista.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, I do not want to butcher this name, Miss Simpson, so hopefully you can help me pronounce it. Let me try Tetjan. Is that how you pronounce it?
No.
Uh-oh.
No, it's Tashawn.
Tashawn, okay. Well, I want to welcome Miss Tajan Webb Simpson. I'm going to go ahead and start your timer and tell us about your book and what inspired you to write your book.
Okay. My book is called Pillar of Salt, and I published it last year. And the book is a series of stories and different poems and scriptures that kind of take you through some of the experiences that I had in my, mostly it happened in my childhood and my in my 20s. And it was inspired primarily by God. I mean, he pushed me really, really hard to write this book. It was very difficult for me because, like many of us, I experienced things and I had stuff to do. I was too busy taking care of everyone else to actually sit with what I experienced and deal with it and heal and all those things. I had to, take care of everybody else. And so he kind of sat me down and said, yeah, it's time for you to deal with this. You've made a lot of choices in your life based on things that happened a long time ago, and you've never dealt with them. And so you're now still feeling like you need to make choices to protect yourself from things that aren't harmful anymore, to deal with things that don't need to be, that aren't a part of your life. And so I finally stopped running and I sat down and I wrote, and then I also realized as my children were transitioning into becoming adults that I wanted them to learn from my experiences, but telling someone, oh, don't do that, is not the same as explaining to them why they shouldn't and how you learned that you shouldn't do that. Knowing the signs of the road that they're traveling, and okay, these are the things that happened that led to this place. Because a lot of us get there to places in our lives, and if we had known that was where we were going to end up, then surely we wouldn't have gone there. But we didn't know the signs because we never heard the story behind don't do that. And so I wanted to give that as a tool to my kids, but I also wanted it to make it useful for other people. And so I give like these brief insights into experiences that I had that translate to other people, because I realize I'm not the only one that experienced these things. Other people have experienced these things, or they know someone who has, and it'll help them to relate to them or to feel less alone. And then I also wanted to inspire people to write their own story. So at the end of the book, and I'm sorry, this is the book, but it's on the screen. But at the end of the book, I have blank pages because I wanted people to kind of read through it and get inspired to start writing their own story so that they could also have a liberating experience, a healing experience for themselves or to even share with others.
Why the name Pillar of Salt?
So as God was talking to me about writing this book, he showed me this image of how, because if you spend time looking back on your life and the things that happened and not looking forward, you're kind of frozen into this place where you're not able to really move forward because you're looking backwards. And if you can imagine walking, riding, driving, anything, looking backwards, how that is for you to progress. It's very backwards. And so he made me realize that I was kind of frozen in time and that I was being diminished as salt is worn away. I was being diminished by being stuck in my experiences and not allowing myself to be freed from that and looking and facing the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Tashawn. You can purchase her books at Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Google Books. She ain't playing with y'all. Y'all can get her book almost. You can even get her book in Walmart. And it's on the screen now. I will also be sending out an email where you can reach out and contact these authors as well as purchase their books. Thank you so much, Tashawn. And you were under time. Let's see who we have next. Miss Kate Poe. I see you, girl, with your pink on. Miss Poe, go ahead and tell us a little bit about you and your book and what inspired you to write your book and what can we expect inside of your book.
Okay, well, I'm Kate and I live here in Virginia. I come from the STL, St. Louis, of course. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a candle business. I'm a candle maker, manufacturer, and I'm an author and a filmmaker. And this is my first book here, Secrets of Beautiful, The Art of Discovering You. What inspired me to write the book was I was going through like a really tough time. And I started thinking about like, when you don't have all the things that you love, your outside beautiful, like, your makeup, your car, your money, your clothes and everything, it's easy to feel valuable. But when you don't have those things, where do you pull from to still maintain that sense of worthiness? And so that's how I came up with the title, Secrets of Beautiful, because, I feel like we all have them. We all have our own sense of beautiful, which I refer to as the intangibles that you can't see, sort of like the root in the tree. You know that there's something underneath holding that tree. You can't see it, it's pretty strong. And so that's what the book is about, like the root of who we are, the art of discovering who we really are. And Secrets of Beautiful, it's a 350-page book journal. It's 32 short chapters. The first chapter is Know Thyself. And it's the inspirations that I share, getting to know myself, some of the things that I wanted to share with others, some of the things that are important about building our inner strength, because I know growing up and, just like everybody else, we tend to focus on like our outside self, like what we look like, maybe, where we live, but I never really focused on like my courage, like really knowing myself, like becoming the diamond that I wanted to become. And that's one of the chapters in my book, is becoming a diamond. And a diamond it doesn't start out as a diamond. It's cultivated, it's nurtured, and then it gets its shine. And so we're like that as well. And so I wrote the book just to share with individuals some of the secrets of beautiful, some of the things, the quiet strengths that we hold within, and how we can really connect mind, body, spirit, just like the one human power. You know, there's the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. But with humanity, we have mind, body, spirit. And it just talks about just connecting all of that and bringing all encompassing values that we have as human beings. And it's all different. We all have our own secrets. And, you know, I can't tell each person what they are, but I do just share some of the ways that I discovered what is it within me, the power within me. Because, you know, at 90, you may not still have the same look that you have, but you still have that same inner strength that you can build on. And so after each chapter in the book, I have 4 questions. So you can write. And the premise of the book is life is the canvas. We are the painters, because we come here as a blank canvas, and we can always make our lives into something beautiful. We can create something beautiful with our lives. And so it's an inspirational, motivational book, which I feel is very befitting for the times that we're in, because like with coronavirus, you know, a lot of people are not working, you know, all the money isn't coming in, you know, we're not going out in our best gear. Times are uncertain, but how can we still be happy in uncertain times? We can dig deep and rely on what's within us and not focus so much on what's outside of us, but we can merge all 3 and become the diamond that we want to become, and eventually have our shine. So
Awesome.
that is what inspired me.
Thank you, Miss Kate. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and put your questions in the chat box, because I don't want everybody to unmute their line at one time, but go ahead and put your questions in the chat box if you have any questions for Kate. We're going to move on to our next author, Miss Frances Dupree. Are you on the line, Frances?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, girl. Hey, from California. Hey. Tell us about your book.
So, Marrying Outside of God's Will. It's a story about the dangerous heights of looking for love in all the wrong places and the soul ties that are broken when God's love, forgiveness, and mercy overpowers the plan of the enemy. So my book is, I always say, like my personal journey, because I was in a relationship at the time that turned into a marriage, but at the same time, I was struggling to find myself and find my relationship with God. So in my book, I discuss that. I always say, like, the hidden battles that no one really wants to talk about. I went through a lot of depression and anxiety, and I dealt with suicide and domestic violence, and I have multiple children. I have 9 kids, but when I wrote the book, I had 8. I have 8 sons and 1 daughter. So when I wrote the book, it was like a healing experience for me, because all the skeletons that I put in the closet, I had to pull out to be transparent, to get the message across that God was trying to get me to get. I started and stopped writing this book, I'd say maybe like 5 or 6 times. And then I got on a prayer line with a few friends of mine, and the prophet, don't know this man, nobody knew, with 3 people that I was even thinking about writing a book. And he said that I needed to stop starting and stopping, that I needed to finish the book, because God said that there were souls waiting for it. So that made me cry, of course, immediately. But then I'm like, I have to finish this book. So I just sat and I just kept writing. And it's 29 chapters, 122 pages, not too long, but just long enough for me to share everything that I need to share. Like I said, I'm very transparent, and my goal is just so people know, like, they're not the only ones that go through all of the things that I went through. And you know, if I'm like a walking testimony, basically, if God can use me after everything I've been through and everything that I've done, that he can use other people as well. So that's kind of my book in a nutshell.
That book needs to be handed to every person dating in America. The stories we can tell of just not listening and marrying outside of God's will. Who would you say your target audience is?
I'd say young, like probably 19 and older, the ages of maybe like early 40s, men and women. Because like I said, through everything, I was still in a 12 and a half year relationship. So things that went on between me and him, and baby mama drama and all kind of other stuff, I feel like it could help young women, young men, and men as well.
Okay, awesome. Guys, on the screen, you can find Frances' contact information if you'd like to purchase her book. You can find it on her website. I think that is a whole nother discussion. I think we need to have a Sisterhood Sunday where people bring their teenage daughters, their college-age daughters, and delve into this, like the importance of marrying in God's will. So thank you so much, Frances.
Thank you for having me.
Miss, what is it doing? There we go. Miss Deborah, are you on the line?
I am here.
Hey, girl, hey.
Hey, how is everyone today?
We are good. What city are you calling in from?
I am calling from Gary, Indiana. I am originally from Chicago.
I was just going to ask, did you know the Jacksons?
About as well as you did. Yeah, so I've only been in Gary for 9 years. I got married for the second time because I wasn't in the will of God the first time. And my husband had a home here in Gary, and so we decided to live in his house and leave my house over on the Illinois side. But I am currently a radio personality for a gospel radio show, radio station that is, in Hammond, Indiana. I've been with the radio station for the past 22 years, and I recently stepped down from a full-time position as program director to go part-time so that I can focus more so on my writing, because that is my true passion. I have written 2 books. The first one is entitled Why, W-H-Y, and it is about a family that moves to Chicago from East St. Louis in the early 60s. And when they get to Chicago, there is a murder that takes place within their family. So now they decide, okay, it's time to open up and tell all of the family secrets as to why this murder really happened. And then I let the person who was killed tell his side of the story as well. So each chapter is dedicated to a different character giving their point of view as to why these things transpired. So when I finished Why, I was happy. It took me over 8 years to do. And I'm done with those characters. I said goodbye to them. They said goodbye to me. But the readers decided they needed to hear a little bit more. So in the process of finishing Why and starting The Day Hate Stood Still, I tripped up and won a literary award for Why. And someone has reached out to me who I'm now in negotiations with to make a movie out of that first book. So I'm excited about that. And we're looking hopefully to start doing something next year with that. But The Day Hate Stood Still.
Yes, tell me about this title, honey.
So this is part 2 of Why. This is the Box family. We are now in early 1980s Chicago. Both books are set in Chicago. This is the time when Harold Washington is about to be elected as the first Black mayor of the city. So that's the backdrop of it. But this family, they are now about to go through a devastating situation. The mother has gotten this devastating news, and the father has to reach out to his daughter, his favorite daughter, and ask her to come and help with this situation. Her life has been perfect for the past, 10 years or so, and she doesn't want anything to do with her mother. So now she has a decision to make. Does she disrupt her life to get back in the fold with these people who caused her so much pain and heartache in the first place, or does she continue on with the life that she has become accustomed to? The point is, they are trying to get to a point of forgiveness and redemption as a family, and they have to overcome all of these obstacles in order to do so. So that's what this book is all about. And once you get into it, it takes you on a lot of twists and turns and ups and downs. You laugh, you cry. Sometimes you may want to throw the book down, but you will pick it up and finish it. I promise you that. So far it's gotten great reviews. It came out in November of last year, I think it was. Yeah, November of last year. And so we're still, making the rounds. Well, we were up until, last month or so. But we're promoting the book. It's still getting good reviews. And now book clubs are starting to reach out online, such as my girl Makia here has done, to talk about the book. So I'm excited about that. And in the midst of this pandemic, I record my radio show from home. And the other day I woke up and was like, I'm sick and tired of writing. I'm sick and tired of recording this show. I looked around, I said, oh, now I'm going to start making jewelry. So I started taking apart old jewelry and making new jewelry from that. So that's my other creative thing that I'm doing to get through this pandemic.
Now, Ms. Rhodes, how can we get these thriller books of yours?
You can get them at therhodesliterarygroup.com. You can go to Amazon and Barnes and Noble as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. If you have any questions for Ms. Rhodes, please put them in the chat box. Ms. Rhodes, go ahead and put that information in the chat box of how people can get your books.
Okay, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Next up, we have the poetess, Miss Bethany Camille James. Are you on, Bethany?
Yes, ma'am, I am. Thank you for having me.
Hey, girl. Hey, where are you calling from, Bethany?
I'm calling from Palmetto, Florida, and I am originally from Denver, Colorado, but I was born in Clearwater, Florida.
Wow. Tell me about Black folks in Colorado.
There actually is a lot going on for Black people, but I was involved with the church. I like to help out in my community and school, and I lived there for most of my life. There's a lot to do, but it depends. I live like in Denver, where it's like more the city area.
Okay. So go ahead and tell us about your book of poems and the live read video sessions. Go ahead and tell us about that.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm just going to quickly go off the back of my hard copy book. I was very blessed to see it finally get to this point. I basically said the third and final edition of the Big Game features bonus material and an updated look. I have 3 different cover designs, and the Big Game it's my spiritual walk progression. My views have changed a lot on God and love since February 2016, and I believe God has been working on me. So my goal was to make a solid Christian fiction poetry book, And I think after 3 tries, I really nailed it. I really got to that point. Next, I said, it is the perfect mixed bag for those who love poetry. The reader will get many delightful thoughts and perspectives on love and spirituality. So basically, it's a poetry book that helped me express my views on God in a free form way, so that I could reach non-believers and believers. And my target audience was really 18 to 40 and people who are up and coming Christian writers. And it has a very Christian spiritual undertone, but it's in layman terms, so anybody can enjoy it. And my bio on the back says, Poetess Bethany Camille James is an author, blogger, and poetess. She first published The Big Game, original edition, in February 2016. In February 2018, she reformatted the ebook into a second edition, extended edition, and now, then in November 2018, she is presenting the third and final edition, remastered with bonus material and updated look. So writing is her purpose. Most of the time she spends reaching people with the gospel through full-time poetry and writing ministry, my master's ministry. And I am licensed through the Florida Revenue Department as my master's ministry official. And my hobbies are brand ambassador work and creating vision boards and spreading encouragement for Christ.
Sorry, I was talking and I was muted. On the screen, you can find the information on where to purchase Bethany's book. Someone put in the chat box, yes, I will send an email of how you can purchase each of the author's books. So I'll put the titles and the links of where you can purchase them. Thanks so much, Bethany.
You're welcome.
It's good. Poetry, Black writers.
All right. Hey, girl. Hey, Dr. Stephanie Rick. Do we have you on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey. So, you all, thank you for having me. Good evening. I am Dr. Stephanie Ricks. I live in the greater Atlanta area. I am a 38-year-old single woman of one, never been married. And from the age of 27 to 37, I begged God for a husband. I was lonely, depressed, sad, and I dated men who were outside of God's will, like the other author said. So that prompted me to write the book, Prayers of a Single Woman. And with Prayers of a Single Woman, you get 31 topics, 31 prayers, 31 scriptures, along with key methods for each one of the topics. And I would like to read a short prayer that's outside of the book. And this topic is preparations to become a wife. The scripture is Proverbs 24:27. Put your outdoor work in order and get your fields ready. After that, build your home. Dear Lord, I am tired of giving a piece of me to everyone. I want to give all of me to one person. Please allow me to accept that I am not perfect and I cannot control people. Please allow me to understand that that one man will not be perfect as well. Please allow this imperfect man to fall deeply in love with me without me compromising my relationship with you. Amen. The methods to this topic is create a circle of friends who are married. Although every marriage is different, ask questions to gain insights on maintaining a long-lasting marriage. Number 3, if there is a need in relationships with those who goes against your mission, your vision, your values, and your beliefs. Number 4, focus on what you can contribute when you become a wife. And some other topics, I'm going to go through this really quickly. Some other topics in this book is strength, filling the void, being encouraged, finding yourself in Christ, living by the Spirit of God, being humble, guidance, loyalty, commitments, love, fear, keeping the right attitude, being Christ-like, serving, joy, self-control, faith, looking for protection, becoming one with Christ, living to please Christ, standing firm for Christ, learning to forgive, prayer of thanksgiving, giving wisdom, being in a relationship with God, staying focused on His will, using our spiritual gifts, being generous in our gifts, intimacy with God, and our future. So you can purchase the book by emailing me at, it's on the screen, drstephaniecommunications@gmail.com, as well as you can find me on IG at the Dr. Stephanie.
Thank you, Dr. Stephanie.
Thank you.
I am one that, like, when people start talking, my head starts like spinning with ideas. You said there were 31 prayers, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe you can take 31 days and do a video on each chapter, just reading that chapter on Instagram. I think that would be amazing. Especially for some of, and you have a young audience as well. Kind of really quickly tell the people about your film school.
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
So I'm an audio video technology and film teacher as well at McDonough High School. I also do freelance work with, right now I'm in the process of taking another author, which is my uncle, taking his book and turning it into a film as well. And we were supposed to be recording this February, but because of everything that's going on, we had to push it back. So be on the lookout for that as well.
Wow. Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Stephanie.
Real quick, Dr. Stephanie, what will be the title of the film you're working on?
It is, we haven't came up with the topic yet. It's the topic of his book, which is Food for Thought, but we're thinking about changing that topic.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I think it's awesome because there's so many of these continuous broken relationships, and finally we have somebody writing books that we can relate to. And I think it's a great tool for churches to get and pastors to get, because you need a library because everybody's situation is different. But to hear just a brief synopsis of your book, it was very inspiring, very encouraging, because we don't have a lot of literature out there. You know, it's the beauty salon. It's somebody that you know that is telling you about marriage. So I think it's great. My daughter knows that I was screaming when Steve Harvey, like, he was the only one writing on relationships. And I'm like, this is not fair. And so I'm just happy to see new authors coming out that can relate to our culture without yelling and screaming, but giving us knowledge. So I'm going to get that book and share that book. And wait for the film.
Yes, ma'am.
And Dr. Stephanie, I think another good idea is to start a collection or a list of churches and offer this to small groups. Like the church I go to, I was in a single moms discipleship group. So I think this would be a great book to send out for small groups, 31 days of just having these discussions because they're needed.
Yes.
I like the 31 days of prayer. So every intercessor is going to want that book. I promise you. Every intercessor out there wants to connect with another intercessor because you feel that abandonment. And it's so good to partner with somebody that have that same passion, that same drive. Because when you have that drive and passion, it's not hard to plug in. So I can't wait to get the book.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stephanie.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mahogany. I already talked to her. I told her I was not going to mess up her name. Do we have you on the line, Mahogany? If you're on, go ahead and unmute.
I am here. Greetings and salutations, everyone.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Go ahead and talk to us about your book and what inspired you to write the book.
Absolutely. First and number one, it's an honor and a pleasure and privilege to be here. So thank you so much for inviting me to the platform. The number one question I get a lot of times is about my name. So I'll start there. My name is Enigmatic Mahogany. And the reason that I chose that name as a pen name is for enigmatic being mysterious or something that you always want to figure out. and mahogany being that fine dark wood. So I said, what better name than Enigmatic Mahogany? All of my books will come from the theme of expressions. Expressions has been with me for many, many years. Back in college, when it begins with inspiration, I was working with a young group of individuals identified as at-risk youth. These individuals were very proud, shall I say, and coming out and telling me their story. Now, for many years, I had wrote poetry, but I was ashamed of my poetry. I just kept it in my notebook. I didn't tell a soul. So when they began to entrust me, looked at me as their mother and still call me mother to this day, at that point, I knew that my story could no longer be trapped inside of me and it had to be released. So with that being stated, it brought me to my first book, which is Expressions Through My Eyes. And it's creatively compiled. It's a collection of poetry offering a look into all forms of expression, revealing the world through my eyes. Each page is guaranteed to give you the food for thought, tug at your heartstrings, and give you the voices unheard by many, while birthing an inspiration within you to bring about a riveting positive change in the world we face. I'd like to share a short little excerpt from that book, and it's Challenge to Slay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Challenge detected. Each of you, one of you are now connected. Only the natural beauty is to be reflected. The challenge. Slay naturally. The power you possess can't be hidden by a headdress. See, your success is in the way you express, starting from the way you naturally strut, ensuring that you go the full course, no shortcut. It is your talent that will leave them silent. Last but not least, it is in the attire that you will set the world on fire. Ladies, it is your time to shine. Who you are, you define. I heard it from the grapevine. You are God's most precious design. There can't be any further delay. It's time to slay, slay, slay. And that is that piece, Queens. And that is the first book, being Expressions Through My Eyes. The next book that I wanted to go into, I wanted to take a different route. I wanted to ensure that I was able to provide not only poetry, but also a resource to all of my sisters, queens, kings. And when we speak about target audiences, I have written my books to be able to reach many. There is no age limitation. There is no color limitation. There is no religion limitation. It is all encompassing. With my second book, I wanted to give people something that would have them like, what? And it's called Rated Triple R Expressions. Now you have to break that down. It means restored, repaired, and reprogrammed by the blood. So upon seeing Rated Triple R, one may think of the very worst scenario. However, Rated Triple R Expressions dissects through scripture components of being restored, repaired, and reprogrammed by the blood. So many times people view themselves as broken, lacking the tools to heal. Rated Triple R Expressions will guide you on 52 weeks of transformation where you won't dare look back and where your grace will be renewed. This book is broken up into 3 parts, being restore, reprogram, and repair. And this section I'm gonna read to you today, everyone, is gonna be restore, very short. And it's very befitting of the pandemic that we're in now. This is for week 6. Jeremiah 17 and 14. Oh Lord, if you heal me, I will be truly healed. If you save me, I will truly be saved. My praises are for you alone. So in a self-application, in our sickness, in our frustrations, in our doubts, and in our sins, the Lord has the omnipotent power to save us. And that is something that we have to remember in any trial or tribulation that we may go through. Beyond being a poet, an author, I am a spoken word artist. I am also an on-air radio personality for the organization based out of Chicago, which is Poet, People of Extraordinary Talent. And I actually am the co-host on the show that's airing tomorrow, which is called Voices Behind the Pens. And it gives everyone an outlet, poets near and far, no age requirement, to be able to express their pen over the mic. And as hosts, we provide them dialogue and feedback on their pieces. Outside of being a radio host, I'm also an event host. So you may have heard about events called Expressions, which we travel near and far. We bring all forms of expression together under one roof, whether that be singers, dancers, rappers, hip hop, however you want to express yourself, that is the purpose. And with that being stated, everything about me is expression. I believe it's okay to be hurt. It's okay to be angry, but we have to realize how to channel that. And that is through the expressions. Now, up next, coming from Mahogany, I know you may be wondering, what's next? The next chapter will be expressions of love to the moon and back. And with this book, what you can look for, you can look for dialogues of what is love, the types of love, and the various languages of love. And once again, thank you everyone for allowing me to speak on this platform. I wish everyone well and loads of success.
Thank you, Mahogany. You can purchase Mahogany's books on Amazon. You talked about an upcoming event or show that you're going to be on. Please put that information in the chat box so we can support you.
Yes, ma'am.
Next up, we have Miss Juanita Jones.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hello, all ladies. I'm already impressed by it's already phenomenal. All the different stories, and it's just amazing how God can use every last one of us. It's all about divine appointment and divine purpose. I am a mother, a wife, an entrepreneur, an author, a motivational speaker, and really the hats can go on and on and on. But I was led to actually write both of my books by the unction of the Holy Spirit, of course, just like it seems like that's the ongoing theme here. The Frustrated Dreamer is actually my first book that was written back in 2015 when I was working in corporate America and I was absolutely stuck in a rut. I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired. And it's actually, the full title is The Frustrated Dreamer When Your Dreams Are Bigger Than Your Now. Meaning that God has given you such divine appointment, such purpose, and you have no idea. You're looking at bills piled up. You're looking at your children acting a fool. You're looking at your job that you absolutely hate. Just all this stuff that looks nothing like what God has given you as far as your dreams go. That's where I was back in 2013, 14, 15. And I mean, the years goes on and on and on. And I felt so stuck and I felt like there was no way out. It was through the manifestation of this book that God actually, I ended up writing it for myself. And it's just funny. I wrote it thinking I'm writing it to be a blessing to other people. And it turned out the very next year, I had to go back and read my own book. And it's basically about those who are looking to become unstuck. You have a vision, you have a dream, you have a goal. Everything that I possibly could have gone through is extremely raw and uncut with a lot of the things that I faced. Suicide, a lot of us I noticed have the same patterns, the suicidal thoughts, feelings of low self-esteem, no self-esteem, unworthiness, just feeling inadequate. It goes over each and every step that I went through in my life and how I was able to overcome it with a biblical aspect. But on top of that, at the end of the book, I actually include, okay, you've told me how you've gotten over it, but how do I actually get started? So for somebody who's actually looking to become an author, I actually break down step by step at the last chapter of the book, how to become an author. If for people who might have an invention, how do I get this invention going? For somebody who wants to start a business, but they don't know where to start at all, I even break down how to even start with the business plan. So the initial portion of the book is me talking about overcoming all of my obstacles in order to pursue my dreams. And then I'm also giving people the practical information to go along with it as well so that they can get going with their own dreams. I even keep, if you see in my office, that white book behind me, that's actually my dream book. I have people that actually, when I've done motivational speaking, when I do book signings, I take that book with me and people actually write their dreams in that book and I pray over that, believing for people's dreams to be manifested for them. The second book that I actually wrote is called Awaited. It's a journey between the wait, W-E-I-G-H-T, and the wait, W-A-I-T. It's actually somewhat of a spinoff of The Frustrated Dreamer, and it deals specifically with my image, my body image. I grew up with very low self-esteem. I always battled with body image. I battled with body dysmorphia. And for those who don't know what that is, that's where you feel like you weigh 900 pounds when you're nowhere near that, and your image is basically warped by the enemy telling you that you're less than what you really are, and it's based on the external. And that goes along with one of the other authors earlier too, very similar. So I go through the journey and the process of how I was able to overcome having such low self-esteem. And once again, just like the frustrated dreamer, it also includes practical steps on, if you do have a weight problem, how to get the weight off, industry information, how they lie to us. You might think that you're super huge, but you're really not, because the industry is catered to trying to sell you. That's what it is. It's a business. So both of those come near and dear from my heart. They're also available on Amazon.com. They're available on Barnes and Nobles as well. And they're on Kindle, digital format. And last but not least, Audible. So if you're not a reader and you don't have time to read, you actually can listen to both books. And The Frustrated Dreamer, guys, is actually free right now on Audible. So if you would like to check it out without having to get a physical copy, you're more than welcome to go into Audible, type it up, and you actually can listen to it for free if you have one of those platforms. I'm also, last but not least, I am a business owner. I own Edible Blessings, Custom Cakes and Desserts. I'm a mobile bakery owner, and I'm actually in the middle of working right now. And so I'm talking to you ladies. It's like, as soon as we hang up, I got to get right back to work. So that's
And where are you located, Juanita?
I am actually in Jacksonville, Florida. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I did.
Hey, from Florida.
And Mika, you said you were putting in an email, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right. Thank you, Anita.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Miss Renee Hutcherson-Lucier. Are you on the line?
I am. I'm on the line. Hello.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, girl. Hey, what's up? How's everybody? Well, listen, I'm waiting for everybody to answer. I'm forgetting. Where am I? Hello, everybody.
The button.
There we go. I got to have it back. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here, listening to your stories, your successes and triumphs. I'm so inspired. I'm writing, I'm taking notes, and my hand just cannot move fast enough. But thank you. I'm honored to be among you. I am Renee Hutcherson-Lucier. I'm humbled to have completed several books, but the book I'd love to talk about today is Get Up, Get Out, Get Going. And the byline is Deliver Yourself from Devastation. And the reason I wrote this, I have to go back just a little bit and talk about, I feel like I'm a twin of Juanita and some of the other authors and entrepreneurs here. But I was a big dreamer growing up, and I saw everything as positive and that I could do whatever I wanted, and that's just how I was raised by my mom and my dad. And I stumbled down some lonely roads and married someone, I heard some other ladies saying, someone who God did not intend for me to join with, but I did. And looked up one day, and it wasn't an easy road, but looked up one day, and my beloved, he was my first love. He walked in the house and said to me, I have one ticket for 1 week in the Dominican Republic, and when I get back, I'll let you know. We'll still be married. So after I picked myself up off the floor and pushed through that hurt, it was a long week, but surely enough, everything fell apart at that point. And but that, sometimes that's not the only thing. I had a wonderful job at the time and said, okay, I'll just hold on. But that was the beginning. My career ended. It was the Great Recession. So I got a notice, and pretty soon after that, after trying to hold on for about a year, I lost my home. I lost everything, including my mind, my belief system. My children even went to live with their dad for a year because I had nothing inside to give them. So long story short, my dad saved me from the streets of Atlanta. I hail you from Atlanta, from walking and being a homeless person. So I stayed with him for 3 years. He poured his love inside of me. He reminded me who I was. I also clung to God. So I had my two fathers, my two daddies in my ear. And it was a beautiful thing, but it was very much needed because I I was one of those that attempted suicide, and I did it twice. And that was a part of the journey. That's a part of my praise today, that God He wouldn't let me. He wouldn't let me be. So I do have a friend on here, Kim, who eventually got to me and said, here's a prayer line. Thank you so much for joining us, Kim, today. But Kim sent a prayer line, and a wonderful, beautiful mother who was over that prayer line prayed for me, prayed for my children. My dad passed away after that 3rd year. We were still in his home. So not only did I go through one house being repoed, I went through my dad's house being repoed because I didn't have the funds to pay for it. I want to tell you that it is a long, agonizing story. It's not 40 years like Job, but it was 4 years that God brought me through. And just as surely as I thought, okay, I've gotten through this and I can stand up, something else, dropped. And I would have people say, I don't know anybody who have been through what you've been through. And I can attest to the fact that I've never heard a story like mine. But I wasn't by myself. God was with me and covered me and kept me. And I thank God today that I am where I am. And I thank God also that everything I went through was just for me. You see, it was teaching me how to let go of everything that God never had intended for me. And it taught me how to reform my mind and dream bigger, because I was a big dreamer when I was a little girl. So my daddy, my earthly daddy, and my heavenly father had to remind me of that little girl who would sit in a closet and write, and sit in a closet and hold a microphone long before Oprah, and sit in a closet and dream of all the things that I would one day do. And so I thank God that this book was born out of people when I finally could sit up. My daddy told me, one day you'll be able to sit up, because in his house I was on the bed moaning, turning from one side, moaning, and to the other, and it was all I could do. But he said, one day you will be able to sit up, and then when you sit up, you'll get up, and then you'll get out, and then you'll get going, and you will be running. And so that's where the title of the book came from my daddy. And everything that he gave me, I put in the book, because those were not just methodologies, but they were actual action steps that helped me to embrace the failure of my life and see it as a beautiful, white canvas. It allowed me to forgive the ex-husband, the Renee who daddy said you could not have known, you didn't know what you didn't know. And you couldn't be anywhere else than right where you are. And so I put all of that wisdom, all of that juice inside of that book. And I want some little girl who's sitting on the side of the road, like I was, with 2 bottles of pills in her hand, trying to figure out, her life and whether she should take those pills, just as I did. I want her to throw those pills away, throw them out the window just like I did, and step into the future, the big, dreamy, beautiful future that God has for her. And so I wrote the book, and the book is not only it's not only my story, but it is a guide, because there are tools and steps in here for anyone who you don't have to have gone through everything I went through, but just if you want to understand about failure, if you want to understand about emotions and how to build and grow and deepen your emotions, and how to understand that your emotions are pushing you into an action. If you want to understand how to reestablish your mindset, Daddy used to have funny ways that he said things. He would say, no matter how gray the sky, sugar, is always a glorious day. And Daddy was so right. He was so right.
Where
He
can
was
they
so
purchase
right.
the book, Renee?
They can go on my website, QE3inspire.com, QE3inspire.com, but it's also on Amazon. And I have some books available through lulu.com as well. But QE3.com has all of the books, including the workbook that I am finishing up, which has more tools and over 300 pages of just goodies. I'm a coach by nature. So I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, I'm an author. But these are coaching tools to help people move through the adversity of their life. Projects that I'm working on, I've got webinars launching just this week with 5 lessons to help you put tools into practice so that you can push through the adversity of your life and your own stuff. And sometimes the stuff is your own emotion and your fear. And so it has its place, but we have to put it in a proper perspective. So thank you so much. I'm just endeared to you. Thank you for the opportunity. So
Yes,
much.
if you could go ahead and put your website in the chat box so people can know how to purchase your books. Thank you so much, Renee.
Thank you so much.
Last but not least, we have Dr. Sheila J. Spencer in the house. Super excited to have you on. Dr. Spencer is going to close us out in these last 15 minutes talking about her dream manual. Dr. Spencer, tell us where you're from and what inspired you to write this book.
Well, I'm from the beautiful city of Ocala, but I've been in Orlando, 26 years. And so I'm loving it here. I moved here as a widow with my 3 children to kind of start my life over. And boy, what a great leap that has been. So how I was inspired to write this book, one, I want to say thank you to my firstborn, my beautiful daughter, Tamika, the CEO. I'm so excited about the things that you're doing with Sisterhood. I'm just excited. And I can see that God has opened up so many doors. And let me say this. Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this beautiful network of, well, I'm 61, so I'm going to say colorful women. And it's just so inspiring to see us invade these opportunities, these doors that has not been open to us. And so now it's the time to write. Now it's the time to release. So I was inspired to write the dream manual because I'm a dreamer. And so at 12 years old, let me give a little bit of background. I'm a pastor, I'm a prophetess, and I am also a professor of the Prophetic Dream Institute here in Orlando, Florida. And so when I got born again, I started having a lot of dreams that I didn't have no answers to. So I was having so many dreams, I was wearing the pastor out, because when you have dreams, you want interpretation. And so I was having so many dreams and I wasn't getting the answers. So if you think about just back up 30 years from now, when you having a dream, people thought you was crazy. So actually around about 12 years old, I started having encounters. I was seeing things before they happened. And so I'm 3rd generational when it comes to preachers. And my grandparents, they took me to the pastor. And mind you, I'm only 12 years old. And they said, this kid is having, and they didn't say encounters because they didn't use encounters back then. They said some strange things happening with this child. And so the pastor, he looked at me, and of course I was petrified because he's about 6'7", he's just staring at me like I had demons. Anyway, that's what the sidebar joke. But anyway, I was very confused at 12, and he didn't have any answers at that time because back then there was just not a lot of knowledge about gifts. So anyway, he just told my grandparents, he says, well, just keep an eye on her and just put some oil on her and sound like she's having premonitions. But at 12 years old, I didn't even know how to spell premonition, so I had no clue. So I left out of that church meeting still clueless. And so from 12 years old, I didn't become born again until 28. So between 12 and 28, it's amazing how God shut those gifts down. And so, I'm sorry, from 12 to 18. So from 12 to 18, I was having these encounters and dreams, seeing things before it happened, never knew what was going on. And so after I became born again at 28, 1986, the passion. And so when you're having dreams and you're around people that are not having dreams, if you're not careful, they will kill the dream in you because they don't understand it. And sometimes when people don't understand things, they feel intimidated because they don't have an answer. So as God began to use me in my dreams, I'll probably have 3 or 4 dreams a night. And as God began to promote me in the spirit realm and started using me to prophesy, of course, this burden got even, heavier because now I'm dreaming. I don't have no answers with this. And now I'm seeing things. And now God is telling me to prophesy, which I was petrified of prophesying because I didn't understand it. Because when it comes to prophetic spiritual gifts, because of so many things that has happened in the past and is passed down, and I call it learned behavior, that sometimes people don't embrace the gift and they always think the negative. So what inspired me to write this book, which I'm actually working on part 2, edition 2 of it, is that after I became spirit-filled and these dreams kept increasing, and they start not only increasing, but they became accurate. And so I was searching out schools, looking for some help to get some type of training. So I went to school up in Detroit and to get trained about my gifts. So I kept looking and searching. And so when I got trained and got the answers, I decided, hey, it's time to help somebody else. Because there are millions of people out there, millions of people that are having dreams. They don't have a clue why they're dreaming, and they have not been taught how important dreams are. Now, dreams is 1/3 of the Bible. Now, dreams come to do what? To come to give you directions, to come to give you answers, solutions, to uncover, to show plots, to show promotion. And so I have, I think it's 10 chapters. I'm just going to give a brief synopsis of each chapter. Of course, this book is in Spanish and in English because God opened that door up for me. And I think in the last 8 years, I've been ministering more over with Hispanics in different nations, more so than I have in my own country. So I was prompt enough to get this book. Thank God for my daughter, Tamika, to get this book translated in Spanish. So the first chapter, it talks about the field of dreams. So I like to tell people, welcome to the field of dreams. You're not crazy. You don't have a spell on you. You're not sick. God downloads while you're asleep. Now, when do God download those dreams? He downloads them what we call REM sleep. And so REM sleep is not when you first go to sleep. REM sleep is probably about 45 minutes to 30 minutes before you wake up. And so what God does, because he's so intellect, that he drops a dream right into your spirit right before you wake up. So what? So you can remember the dream. So when God told me, he said, dreams are significant and they're a part of the prophetic. They're the right arm of the prophetic. And I remember about 15 years ago, the Lord was dealing with me about the prophetic. And he said, you've cut part of it off. And I was alarmed. What do you mean, God, that I cut off part of the prophetic? He said, dreams. I'm speaking to people in my dreams, in their dreams. And so I want to make sure I say this. Every dream is not of God. Yes, there are a lot of polluted dreams. And dreams come through what? A multiple conversations. Dreams come from what you listen to, your diet. It could come from medication. It can come from trauma and triggers. Like sometimes when you run into triggers from your past, it could cause you to dream. Also in conversations, what you're talking to on the phone with your girlfriends, what you're talking with your coworkers. And as being 61 now, I'm really watching that. I'm starting to really monitor my dreams because I'm seeing in my 60s that sometimes I can dream things that I watch. So I learned to dismiss them. So chapter 1, of course, is the field of dreams. And if we have any dreamers on, welcome to the field of dreams. Number 2 is prophetic dreams. What's the difference between a dream and a prophetic dream? Well, a prophetic dream is more so when God give you a specific word, and it's almost like God is prophesying into your sleep, and he gives you a specific word. Now, you could be dreaming about all sorts of things, but then when God, because the prophetic comes from what the root word prophecy. So when God gives you prophetic dreams, he's giving you something to get your attention or to get somebody else's attention. So in a prophetic dreams, there are stages in a prophetic dream because you need to know who God's speaking to, what is it he's trying to reveal. So I teach on prophetic dreams because actually we have not been taught or trained to even give any attention to our dreams. So most people that I come in contact, even in my school, is that they were not taught to write their dreams down, because most people don't think their dreams are significant. And you'll be surprised how accurate you are in your dreams. Look at Madam C. Walker. She's the first Black woman to become a multi-millionaire. Y'all remember her with the straightening comb and the hair lotion? And in that journey with her, she had a dream. She had a dream that somebody came up to her with some lotion and a liquid. And my God, they laughed her. They laughed at her. If you read the history of her, they laughed about her. And look what happened. God not only used that woman with hair products, boy, he used her with that straightening comb. Thank God for the straightening comb. So what am I saying is God do give prophetic dreams. God does expose your future. And if you begin to monitor your dreams, you won't become so codependent on everybody else. Oh, I got to run this person. So I got to do this. You'll be surprised what God is trying to download to you. So I got 5 minutes. Open visions. Number 3, open visions are when you're not asleep. It's not imagination. Now, every day I wake up, since I've been on this quarantine, I've gained so much weight, I'm probably having imagination going back to a size 5. But that's just my thoughts, okay? So if we don't hurry up and come out of this, we all going to be spending money because we're not going to be able to wear our clothes. And this kitchen is open 7 days a week. I have never cooked so much in my life because I've been enjoying having adult daughters. I don't have to really do that as much. But anyway, back to the topic, because you know when you get in your 60s, you kind of get off topic. So open visions. What's the difference between open vision? Open visions are encounters. Now, when you have an open vision, you're not asleep. You're not asleep. And it's not your mind. And so when you have an open vision, God is basically giving you a screen like a, how can I describe it? It's like a TV screen. And he visits you. And you know, and that's why the difference between an encounter dream and an open vision, you can feel like you have been there before. And I'm sure some of you have had dreams, you're like, God, this felt so real when I woke up. That's because it's a prophetic dream and it's an encounter dream. All right, lesson number 4 is recognizing false prophets, prophetess, exposing psychics, and sexual intoxication. Wow. Well, chapter 4 is because we have so much. The Bible say in Matthew 24, firstly, it says, before the earthquakes and the coronaviruses, it says, many people shall be deceived by what? Many false prophets. So false prophets, they have the gifts, but they're using it the wrong way. And of course, Satan has entered into them. And we understand that psychics, I ran into a psychic at the Millennium Mall here in Orlando. And I was coming out of the mall. She was coming in and she said, oh, want reading? You need reading? I said, if you knew who I was, and I began to tell her, I said, you're going to need my reading because I'm a prophetess. Her eyes got this big. So you'll be surprised. And another thing I'm going to bring out too, she looked like somebody's school teacher. That woman teeth wasn't missing. She didn't look like the average Miss Sadie down the street. That woman was well-groomed and very, and I hate to say it, but she was Hispanic. And you would have never thought. That's what made me stop, because she said something to me, because she looked like somebody cute little grandmama. See, they're the ones you got to watch out for. And so it's very important that you be aware of satanic behavior. If this book had been out during the Jim Jones area, those people wouldn't have drunk that Kool-Aid. So I want to encourage people, if you feel it in your spirit and it don't feel right, God is trying to tell you something. So there are people who use, they give Satan. I remember some people that I helped walked out. They were in college and they used to do seances. And y'all remember the movie Ghost? And as the woman began to sit up in my office and tell me what happened in college, I was blown away that she had experienced demons get inside of her. So, of course, this book will expose false prophets, how to recognize sexual intoxicated dreams. Why do I bring that up? Because a lot of times, just like that, what happened, you would see something and Satan will try to drop that in your spirit. Because a lot of things, the eye gate, we talk about all these gates, the eye gate, the ear gate, the mouth gate. And so I hear people say a lot of times, I'm not doing anything. I'm doing everything I can to walk a clean life. And so one couple come to me and said, we don't know what's going on. We having all these sexual dreams. And the Holy Spirit revealed to me, prophetically says, it's your neighbors. And they said, oh my God, we got new neighbors, and they was having all kind of orgies. It was doing all kind of stuff. And what was happening is, you got to remember, we have all of these satellites and stuff over us. It can influence you in your dreams, and you're having sex intoxicated dreams, and you don't know where they're coming from. And you like, God, I'm doing everything. I don't know what it's coming from. So chapter 4 exposes that. Chapter 5 is important in interpretations. What do you do when you have a dream and you don't know what it means? That's why I wrote this book, because it is very tormenting. You know that it's something important, but you don't know what God is trying to tell you. So how to get you on the path of interpreting your dreams? Number one, you need to get a journal. You get a journal, keep it beside your bed. Some people use their phone. That's too distracting to me, because then I start looking off at everything else. But if you will journal your dreams, what happens is when you journal your dreams, it causes you to recognize God's voice, because God has spoken to his people, and he still is. 1/3 of the Bible is dictation of dreams. So interpretation is important. In the back of my book, I give a guideline on how to recognize your dreams and how to separate what's true and what's false. Number 6, how to position yourself to become an interpreter. I list all of the interpreters in the Bible. Of course, we know Joseph was an interpreter. He interpreted the Pharaoh's dream and became the most second powerful man in the world at that time. Of course, Daniel, the book of Daniel, he was an interpreter. And so how can you become an interpreter? It's a free gift. You don't have to take no 16-week course. If you got a clean spirit, you're not a person that has a lot of jealousy in you, because God won't use you to interpret dreams. Because I'm going to tell you something, the danger of the wrong people interpreting your dreams, that's why God said in Jeremiah 23, he will kill them, because they misguide people interpreting their dreams. Because people interpret their dreams if they don't like you, if they're jealous of you, and they'll give you the wrong interpretation. So it's important that you read these books of in the Bible. Of course, there's a lot of material out there that will teach you how to interpret your dreams. And I'm moving along real quick. Number 7, clinical study. That's one of my favorites. To confirm that God gave me this book is that there was a clinical study. I'll try to paraphrase it real quick. They took 100 people, put them in a sleep lab, let them get to REM sleep. And when they got into REM sleep, they woke them up. They did it for 5 days. And every time they would see, because when you're dreaming, your eye movement speed up. So they could tell when the person has entered into sleep. So they put 100 people in there and they tested them. And so every day, every night that they start dreaming, they start waking them up. By the end of the week, they was all discombobulated and confused. You see what I'm saying? So dreams are significant and they're important. You need to know those people was chaotic. Chaos was breaking out in that lab, because they were not able to finish their sleep, but they knew that they was getting downloads. So when I learned that these tests are real, that you are having dreams, there's nothing wrong with you. God just wants you to become familiar with his voice so he can help guide you along in your spiritual journey.
Dr.
Okay.
Spencer, how can people get a hold of you and get this book, as well as I believe we spoke about you doing online classes of the Prophetic Dream Institute. How can people reach out to you?
I'm excited about the Dream Institute going virtual. My daughter Tamika has been pushing me, but you know, us old timers, you know, we're gonna keep the cake in the oven until we feel it. And I just didn't feel it because it sounds like more work. Even though I like to say today is that it is one of my greatest joys with my school. The dream manuals, you can go to www.timeofrefreshing.net. Of course, you can email me at pastorsheilaj@aol.com, or you can call 475-456-4224, and you can purchase this book. I am going to start virtual school this year, hopefully June. I'll start the online classes. It is a
Uh-oh, she's frozen. Can you guys hear me?
fundamental to teach you how things about, you'll be surprised. He kept going, looking for God's voice, and he couldn't find. He went to his pastor because he couldn't understand God's voice, and so his pastor, his mentor, taught him, "Say, let's go lay down. God's trying to talk to you." And so this is a great thing about this book, and you can get it. Thank you very much. Also, in the back of this book is a guideline that I teach people how to record their dreams, because you want to write it down. Is it an open vision? Is it a night dream? What is the sub focus? Because sometimes you're dreaming and people don't see you in the dream. Well, when people don't see you in the dream, it's because God's trying to show you something about the people in the dream. So once you do this, many people say they never dream, but once you finish this course, you're going to say, wow, I've been dreaming for a very long time. Okay, God bless everybody. Thank you for listening to me. It is Sunday. I'm ministering today, so I still feel hyped along with that Starbucks. It got me going. God bless all of you. It was an honor to be surrounded by such gifted and talented women. I am inspired because you all have messages that so long we had to go to other cultures to read their books. So now we can read y'all books and we can share it with our family. All right, Tamika Davis.
Sorry, I was
Oh,
muted.
okay.
I wanted to say thank you to all of the authors, to my mom. Thank you for being a part. If you guys are interested in joining or signing up for the Prophetic and Dream Institute, drop your information in the chat box and say, hey, I'd love to get some more information on that. And we will email you information on the school and sign up information. Thank you to all the lovely, beautiful authors and sharing your story and taking us behind the scenes. I will send out an email that will have all of their contact information and the links to purchase their books. And yes, this call was recorded. I kept getting that question in the chat box. It has been recorded, and I will send that link to that recording as well. I appreciate you guys so much. Don't forget to share with your family and your friends. We are here every Sunday at 5 p.m. Next week, we will be talking about Open Up the Cul-de-sac. As many of you know, the cul-de-sac is a circle and most of the time a dead end. So we will have Miss Donna Middlebrooks. She is a realtor and an investor. She's going to talk about different streams of income, where the housing market is right now, what to do about your house right now if you were thinking about moving or renting it. If you were looking to get in investment, she also has investment clubs where several of us can get into a club and pitch our money in to see what it's like to flip a house and not have to come up with all the money yourself. But she's an amazing woman who does her research, very educated on real estate topics. So she will be joining us next week. Thank you, ladies, so much. Hey, girl, hey. Bye, girl, bye. Love you, ladies, and see you next Sunday live at 5.